Hi, I'm Bob Moore with Alpha Software, and today we're going to continue our look at the OneSignal integration with Alpha Anywhere. And in this case, we're going to look at building a progressive web app that uses OneSignal, and it also is going to be using Firebase as the backend. So Firebase-authentication and Firebase to store all of the data. So the first thing we'll do, let's just take a quick refresher look at the application. And so here I'll go ahead and log in with this user here, and against the Firebase authentication, it comes up. I've got a couple of notes that I've already put in, and I can go ahead and edit the notes or look at them or whatever I want to do. Now, if we look closely here, so I'm now logged in as rem@me.com, and if we look at the user records in, say, in Alpha Notes on the Firebase console in Authentication, we'll see that the user ID is YUPN blah blah blah. Now, I just happen to store that, so here it is right here. Okay, so this is that user ID. And what we want to do is now we want to store that over into the OneSignal database. So if we go to the OneSignal records, you can see this is that external ID, and we've added a tag here that's the user email address. So on login, that's what we're going to want to do, because we may want to just send a message specifically to this user, and this just makes it really easy to administer this over on the OneSignal side of things. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is let's go back here, and we'll just get rid of that, minimize that. We don't need that anymore, and I'm going to show you what I did to the Alpha Notes application to work with Firebase login and OneSignal. So the first thing you actually need to do is just make sure that in your project properties you've enabled support for OneSignal, which is right in here. It's enabled, and you've plugged in your app ID that's available over in your OneSignal dashboard. Once that's done, let's take a look at the component that I'm playing around with here. The big changes happen on Firebase login. So let's go look at, and that's going to be a client side. So on Firestore login, I'm calling a function called process Firestore login and passing in an E object here. Now let's go look at what that's all about. So if we come over here to process Firestore login, you can see this is how I was handling the login in the Alpha Notes application without the OneSignal support. And this is the stuff that I added for OneSignal support. So this is to allow me to store the user ID and their email address into an object, and that's what I'm doing right here. And then I'm calling another function called OneSignal login and passing in the OneSignal user object. So let's go take a look at what that does. So on the OneSignal login here, which is going to be right here, now we are using calls to the OneSignal SDK. This is all documented on the OneSignal website, and all of this actually happens when you use the Alpha authentication services, but we make that happen automatically here. In this case, I had to add this. So we'll make sure that this component is available to you in the GitHub repo with all of the other supporting components. But what we do here is we log in the user through OneSignal, and in this case put a console log message so we can see this going on in the debugger, and then we add a user tag. And the user tag in this case says user, and the username here is going to be their email address. So that's all we really have to do to support OneSignal working with Firebase. And let's go take a look at what that data looks like, and then we'll add a user, and then we'll turn this into a progressive web app so you can see that as well. So let's go ahead and we didn't make any changes there, so that's just fine. The data we've already looked at. Authentication, we were looking at the user ID. We could see that that was correct there. Let's log in this other guy and see what we get over here when we log in with another user. So let's jump over to, well, let's see. Why don't I turn this into a progressive web app first? So let's go ahead and do that. So there's, we're all set with that. Turn it into a PWA. This is how you do it. I'm going to leave everything pretty much at the defaults here. I'm going to probably bump my caches because I probably have played around with this before. And say go ahead and go OK. Now it's going to generate the progressive web application. It builds all the caches. It does all the offline support. Everything's all baked into it. So it just works. In this case, I don't need to open the folder. You know, you'd probably publish this out to an external site. You don't need an alpha server here. This could be published anywhere because we're using Firebase as on the back end. But I'm going to go ahead and we'll just live test it here on my local development server here. And it's going to be this guy right here. And we'll go ahead and open that up. And it should launch for us. Now, since I had previously logged in, that's why it automatically logged me in. And in this case, it's saying, would I like to install this as a progressive web app that I could access? I'll say, yeah, sure, why not? So, and then it's going to say, install the app. Yep. And now you'll notice now it's up in its own specific window here. And which is kind of cool. And let's see. The other thing that we have to do here is we have to subscribe to OneSignal because I don't think this particular app has already subscribed. So let's go do something here. I'm going to go ahead and let's look at our app info here. Yeah, see, notifications has already been enabled, and I'm going to kill that. So I'm going to say settings. I'm going to uninstall this app, and I'm going to relaunch it because I want to actually see both the prompt to install to the home screen through the progressive web app and to also show the prompt to subscribe to OneSignal. Okay, so again, do live test, same component. I'm going to log out this user. I'm going to make sure that all the permissions are taken away. Delete the data. Reset the permissions. And that's all good. And then I'm going to come in here and reload this. Okay, now I should see the prompts that I'm expecting to see to install it if I want. I'll say later this time. And now subscribe to our notifications. And I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to allow it, and you're going to see that appear over here. Thanks for subscribing. So this app can now process push notifications coming from OneSignal. Okay, and let's go ahead and log in a new user. So this is RAM at gmail.com. And this is a user that we haven't seen before over in OneSignal. So let's go ahead and log him in. This guy doesn't have any notes, but we'll say we'll show all the records so we can see them all. In this case, let's go back over to OneSignal and refresh this and take a look. So we notice we've got another user that's subscribed here. And we can see the external ID is right here, and we can see the user right here. Okay, so this is the tag we added. This is the external ID that we added, and that's going to be coming from this number right here. So that's the integration that we were looking for. So what we saw here was kind of interesting. We've got the Firestore backend, Firebase and Firebase authentication. We've got full online offline capability with syncing. It can That's all part of Firestore. It can do all of that. We've got the authentication tied back over to OneSignal. And in fact, we could send out a push notification right now just for testing. Let's go ahead and say we're going to send out a new message, a new push message. So let's do that. And we're going to send it to everybody. And we'll just call it another test message and say hi there. And yep, we're going to just send it right away. It's going to look like that. Delivery is immediate. Review and send. And go ahead and send the message. And sure enough, here's our message. You can see it appear right over here. So our application is processing these and looking for these messages coming in through the service worker, and it's all working fine. So here we've seen a progressive web app built with Alpha Anywhere, tied to a Firebase backend using Firebase authentication, and also integrated tightly with OneSignal. So that's all I really wanted to cover today. Thanks.